It's 12:30, so Alan, are you up there? Oh, there you are. I can't see you, so I didn't know if he was there. All righty. Hope y'all enjoyed the lunch. I thought I think Smoking Hot does a really good job, and Chris, our brother that brought it, does a great job. So thank you for enjoying that. I hope it was good. I wanted to read one thing before David starts back up this afternoon, but he called a little child and had him stand among them, and he said, I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. I just thought about that while David was talking. So tonight, the session this afternoon is about how to thrive in your marriage. And this is probably the one that I've been the most interested in hearing. So, David, you got it.
Alan, you got me set up? Thank you. Boy, I might just do it from right here. I'm kidding. No, I'd go to sleep. Alan, thank you for moving that down. Very quickly, I mentioned that when we came back, Mark was asking about the rights. Your child has a right to an IEP, individualized education program. Your child has a right to consent. They have a right in decision making. There are a number of services that are available to you in the schools. The sad part about it is sometimes you have to ask because they may not necessarily mention. Your child should be able to receive their education in a less restrictive format because of the disability. They have rights to be notified. You have the right to know about why the school district is either proposing and or refusing specific actions. And whether you're eligible for the services, the type of disability that you have, the services that are available, what they will receive, and then you have a right to have a copy of the full notice of the procedural things that they've discussed related to your child. So rights and private, those available to you. We were talking about this at lunch. Paige, I'm going to defer to you right now. Will you tell them the other places or things that are available?
Yes, on Tennessee.gov there is a document. It's the Tennessee Department of Education Quick Guide to Parent Rights and Responsibilities in Special Education. And that, like I said, was on tn.gov. And it's a informational document that kind of breaks it down about evaluations, consent, decision-making services, locations, notices, copies, and privacy. It just summarizes all the things that he was just mentioning. And then there are other resources, other organizations down at the bottom, Tennessee Disability Pathfinder, Disability Rights Tennessee, support and training for exceptional parents. It's called the STEP program. Tennessee Voices for Children, and the Arc of Tennessee. So there's all those resources. And as I've mentioned before, but the Star Center also is a good resource to reach out to. We have what's called the TTAP program. And so my coworker always says that STAR used to stand for something. And while it no longer is an abbreviation for anything, but in the past, that R was for a resource. And so that is a local resource in West Tennessee. We're headquartered in Jackson, and we cover West Tennessee for most of our services. But assistive technology and at the Star Center is statewide. So if you were to ever have a question, you are also welcome to reach out to the Star Center. And if we don't have the answer for that, we could also try to provide that resource for you of where to find that information.
So, David, the reason why that Alan mentioned this is he has a grandchild with autism, and Dana's already mentioned that our son was diagnosed with ADD, and we ran into this a lot in his education. And it was not just elementary education, it was even in college. Things that he had a right to, that you had to push to get. You had to push to get. And it's not, I don't think it's necessarily because they're bad people. Sometimes they just don't know what your rights are. And sometimes there's underfunding, there's overstaffing. I mean, the teachers are they have too many children, they just can't. And it's not something that, the attitude you have to take is, maybe you can do this, maybe you can't. No, you have to do this. The Americans with Disability Act says you have to do this. If your child can't take a test in a certain way, you have to be able to get a test done in another way that they can do well in, or they can, because the purpose of a test is to find out what you know, not to trick you, not to make you fail. And for certain kids, the way the tests are set up, they will not succeed. No matter how much they know, they will not succeed. And sometimes it's, for certain of us, me included, that's hard to do. I'm not a get-in-your-face kind of person. And sometimes you have to be that kind of person to take up for your child. So
I'll tell you, when you have to take up for that child, that mama bear or papa bear will come out. Our case, the mama bear more than the papa bear. But, I mean, and that's not throwing her under the bus in front of everybody. We were in a situation one time, and I'm watching her because I thought she was going to go over the desk to get this individual. And, it was what you and I were talking about earlier in a work setting, work situation. And, with autism, change is terrible. For those of you don't know, they sent an email to us at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, knowing full well we could not respond, to have her to report to a new job on Monday. And I said, has anybody complained? No. I said, is she not doing her job? They said, no. She was in this position for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, in just a matter of moments, from Friday to Monday, she was going to be in a new place with new people, unsupervised. And that just was not acceptable. And so you have to do what you have to do. And it's a shame that it's that way sometimes. But it happens. All right. Does Does anybody have a question on this before we move on into the next? I didn't know if I saw a hand up. Okay. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Alan, if you will. 5,000 times a day in America, a couple is going to stand before a minister, a priest, a rabbi, a judge, or a justice of the peace. And they're going to say to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, so long as we both shall live according to the will of God. 5,000 times a day in America, this takes place. Those are the marriage vows, and those are not to be taken lightly. And then you compound your married life. Remember I said last night we were married 4 years before Hope came into the picture as we planned our family. And there was no way we could have been prepared for what we've dealt with. And so that changes the whole dynamic. And so let's go to the next slide, please. This is according to the CDC. Now, I will say, here's the preacher side of me coming out. You will not beat the Word of God. You will not beat His injunctions for us on what marriage is. You just won't. But I thought it very interesting that I have some information here from the CDC and Psychology Today that really point out a lot of what the Bible's saying. It's amazing to me. Every 42 seconds, there is one divorce in America. That equates to 86 divorces per hour, 2,046 divorces per day, 14,364 divorces per week. Now, this doesn't go in along with what the Bible says, but I just wanted to show you what the CDC is saying. Here's the scientific information that they give. So, 14,364 divorces per week, 746,971 divorces per year. Next slide. Every 16 seconds, there is a marriage in the United States. That equates to 230 marriages. This is also according to the CDC. 230 marriages per hour, 38,762 marriages per week, 2,015,603 per year. Next slide. There are nearly 3 divorces. We started off with the marriage vows, to have and to hold. By the time a person does his or her marriage vows, 2 minutes tops. Look at this. No, let's go back to that. It takes, in the time that it takes for a couple to recite their marriage vows, in 2 minutes, there are nearly 3 divorces that take place in that 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Now we can go to the next slide. More than 172 divorces occur during a typical romantic comedy that you watch on TV. So you watch a rom-com, and while you're doing that, 172 people are getting divorced. That amazes me. Next slide, please. There are 5,975,768 divorces over the course of an average first marriage that ends in divorce, usually by year 8. Next slide. And it's really difficult to pinpoint the exact universally accepted divorce rate for parents of children with special needs. It's hard to do that. But I do know in everything that I've read, the divorce rate is staggering in homes where there is a special needs child. And usually what happens, and I think this is key, usually what happens is you have a wife on one page, you have a husband on another page. You have a wife that is maybe in denial. You have a husband who is in acceptance. Or you have a husband who is in denial and a wife who is in acceptance, and they're like this instead of right here. And so because of that, they can't agree on what needs to be done. They cannot agree on protocol to take. They cannot agree on any of those things, and because of that, there's some major frustrations that take place. I've even seen it where there have been some people who have had knockdown dragouts. I don't mean beat each other to pieces, but yelling and screaming and leaving because they couldn't get on the same page together. Or the wife saying, I don't understand why you're not where I am. When you get this kind of diagnosis, the stages of grief, the Kubler-Ross stages of grief, very well apply. You know, the anger and all of those things that go with that. And I'm not going to go, that's not the purpose of this particular, but you can look that up. Denial and anger and guilt and all those things. And everyone moves through those stages differently. And when you have a special needs child, you will move through those stages differently. Now, we do know for a fact that the divorce rate is higher compared to the general population. Some studies say it's even as high as 80%. 80%. The good Lord willing, if the Lord allows Kay and I to continue to live, we'll celebrate 41 years of marriage this year. And here's how we did it. When we first married, when we first started getting serious and talking about marriage, we both made the statement, divorce is not an option. We determined that on the front end. And number two, we're going to stick together no matter what. Take them the microphone. I think they have something to say to us. 51 next week.
And we said the same thing.
Yes, okay. And well, I also do counseling, so after this is over, instead of a question and answer, you and I need to get off over here to the side. I have the time. So you determine. You can do anything you determine to do. When we said I do, we meant it. Have we always been cordial? No. Have we ever had a disagreement? Yes. Have we said things to each other we shouldn't have said? Sure. But we hadn't thrown in the towel. And we keep coming back. And then when autism visits our home, we said, look, we're just going to love and pull together. And we've always treated one daughter, tried to teach them or train them. That's neither one of the words I want. Treat, thank you. I knew I said treat, but I couldn't think of it. We've tried to treat them equally. We never treated Hope as if there was any kind of disability. And so, I think that's how you do it. You've got to determine to do it. Next slide, Alan. Studies that parents of children with special needs are more likely to get divorced than other married couples. Now, this particular research says that 87%, so it was 7% higher than the last slide. So anywhere from 80 to 87% of people with special needs, in all likelihood, are going to lead to divorce. Let's go to the next slide. Now, factors contributing to these divorce rates, here it is. Increased stress. Increased stress. Raising a child with special needs can be very stressful. It can lead to marital strain. It can also lead to a lack of intimacy. Intimacy, I love the way intimacy, here's a good way to remember this word. Into me you see. Intimacy. Into me you see. In other words, Kay knows everything about me. I know everything about her. So I'm telling you right now, some churches will have the dating game. I'm going to tell you right now, or the newlywed game, or the oldie-wed, or whatever they call it. We beat you because of how well I know her. And I think that's the way it should be. But into me you see. I think that's a good way to remember intimacy. But when there's a lack of intimacy, now here again, I have known of couples. As a matter of fact, I was counseling with a couple. They wanted to get married. And they both drove 2 different cars. They came separately. We're in this room. We're at a table. I'm at the end of the table. He's on one side, she's on the other. And every time I would mention something, he started fussing. Not at me, but at her. And then she would fuss back. And they just kept going round and round. Finally, I said, time out, hold on. And I would interject some things. Then about the time I thought we'd regained control, they would do it again. That was the worst counseling session I ever tried to sit through in my life. And finally, I just stopped them. And I said, sir, do you see that door right there behind you? He said, yes. I said, you need to get up from your chair right now. You need to go to that door, go get in your car, and you need to drive off. I said, ma'am, you see that door over there? She said, yes. I said, you need to get up and go that direction, get in your car, and drive off. They said, why? I said, you've done nothing but fight the whole time we've been here. And they sit there in stunned silence. And finally, he said, does this mean you're not going to marry us? I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm meaning. I said, I'm not going to marry you. Not only am I not going to marry you, I'd recommend you don't get married by anybody, to each other. I said, the right person's out there for you, but these are not the right people for each other. They sit there and looked at me like I had 3 heads. I don't know if they ever got married or not. I never saw them again after that. But I thought, man, if they did marry, they've probably been divorced several times over now. Increased stress, lack of intimacy. I went to the doctor one time. I was having some chest pains. This was a number of years ago. And I had tried to act like I was younger. I went snow skiing. And Kay, being a nurse, was taking care of a patient, and he was all broken up and said, what'd you do? He said, I broke my leg snow skiing. Oh, my husband's going snow skiing next week for the first time in his life. I hope he doesn't come back like this. I didn't. I made it through. But I did fall and I pulled some muscles. I go to the doctor. I said, I'm having some chest pain. And he said, you're going to be okay. He said, but let me ask you something. I said, okay. He said, are you under a lot of stress? I said, as a matter of fact, I am. He looked at me and he said, it will kill you. I said, I don't like that. So he said, whatever you got to do to eliminate the stress. If you want to stay happy in your marriage, you got to eliminate the stress to the best of your ability. There's always going to be some stress with which you deal, but you pull together and work through it together. Lack of intimacy. You got children that are pulling you in every different direction, and you have a tendency to forget your mate. I have known of couples who got married because they were having sex outside of marriage. And if somebody marries that way, they're going to divorce that way. But there needs to be that intimacy aspect of things. Next slide, Alan. We're seeing a lot of marriages that are falling apart. Next slide. Now, this is a woman who is a PhD, Gail J.G. She says, and I quote, parents of children with special needs who have successful marriages have a number of things in common. Here they are. They include accepting each other's strengths and weaknesses. I said last night that Kay provides for me what I'm not capable of providing for myself. I provide for her what she's not capable of providing for herself. We make a really good team because we back one another, we boost one another, we encourage one another. And if nobody else is going to stand with me, I know that she is always standing with me. Parenting a child with autism, spectrum disorder, or any other kind of developmental disability, it's a severe thing. Now, according to Dr. J.G., she says, for most of us, the special skills are required. The skills, here I'm having a hard time, let's see here. For most of us, the special skills that are required are not skills we learned from our family origin. In other words, they weren't taught to you growing up. You've got a whole new dynamic that you're having to learn what you need to do. Next slide. Now, here are the keys to being successful. This equates to any marriage. This equates to any marriage, but it equates so much to what we're talking about this weekend. If you want to be successful in your marriage, prioritize communication. Prioritize communication. Have open, honest dialogue. Regularly discuss your feelings. Regularly discuss your frustrations, your needs, related both to your child and to your marriage. But then you need to have active listening. Sometimes we talk at each other instead of to each other. That's not active listening. If I were to ask you how many minutes per day that a family, a husband and wife, is engaged in meaningful conversation, what number would you say? How many minutes a day would you say is spent in meaningful, active listening conversation between a husband and wife? What would you say? 20 minutes? 20 minutes, at least an hour? Anybody else? Anybody from this section want to join in? Statistically, When you have husband and wife who are both working, are you ready for this? 30 seconds per day in meaningful conversation. I know y'all are looking at me kind of funny because in the morning, you're racing to get ready. You're racing to get out the door. You take a sip of coffee, you set it down, and out the door you go. Now, that doesn't mean it can't change over the years. One of the things that Kay and I have always done from day one, Kay has always been a nurse. She was in nursing school when we started dating. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell this, okay? She said, I really don't have time for you right now. We don't need to date right now. I'm in nursing school. But I'm glad she had a change of heart. But every day, most every day, at lunchtime, she has a break, and she knows my schedule, and we may talk 5 minutes, but it's a consistent 5 minutes. It's time that we both look forward to. Hey, how's your day going? Is there anything you need? Later today, what are we going to do? That kind of thing. And so we spend that time in communication every day, every day. All right, next slide, please. Number 2, seek support. Lean on your family. Lean on your friends. Learn from your network. Lean on them for practical help. Lean on them for emotional support. Lean on them for respite care. You may need professional help. I tell people all the time that getting counseling is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. You know that something's not going quite right. And I don't know why it seems that people have a stigma when it relates to counseling. But those programs are there, those people are there, and if you need them, it's much better to reach out to them before. Well, the Grand Canyon started from a drip, and look how big it is today. The biggest problems in marriage are not the major things. It's the little things left unsaid. It's the little things left undone. The big stuff you can usually pull together. You say, okay, we're going to have to get a new air conditioner. You know, you see that coming, maybe. But you can pull together for that. But when you make withdrawals out of the bank of marriage, it's hard to get that back in there. So ask for that professional help. Special needs organizations. One of the greatest things that helped us, Kay mentioned it last night, we had a network of special needs moms and dads who were in the same boat. Remember we said that autism or other special needs, they're not going to be the same. Even on the autism spectrum, they're not going to be the same. There will be some similarities, but we could all relate to the fact that something wasn't right. And I am grateful for those moms and dads who were in the same boat as us, that we could bounce ideas, because your typical families out there, and I think, Danny, you mentioned that last night, your typical families out there, not having the friends, you had them, but they didn't understand. Well, these folks understood. And not only did they understand, they knew, sometimes even without saying a word, and you knew them being there, that pat on the back, that card in the mail, that encouragement. When you're ready to just throw up your hands and say, I can't do this anymore, they are there to help you. Next slide, please. Make time for each other. If you want to be successful, special needs or not, you need to make time for each other. You need to have a date night. You need to have a time, and when your kids get older, it's even better because we can always give Paige money and say, hey, Paige, take your sister. Y'all go to a movie and get a pizza. We'll pay for it. Man, that was all she had to hear. And we pay for it. And I remember one of the greatest date nights we ever had. Of all places, we were at Walmart. And we're walking through Walmart. Kay's not saying anything, I'm not saying anything, we're just looking around. And then she started laughing. She said, did you ever think we would ever have a good time at Walmart? I said, no, I usually never have a good time at Walmart. I try to stay out of Walmart. But yet that particular night, there were no kids, mama, daddy, mama, daddy, mama, daddy, pulling the pants leg or, or you look up and your basket's got several things in it you didn't put in there that they did. And so we're just walking through Walmart. Shared activities. Find common interests. Kay will tell you in a heartbeat. I'm telling you, she and I are 180 degrees apart. She likes Florida. I can't stand Florida. I go to Florida because that's where my family is. The only time I touch sand, I kid you not, the only time I touch sand is if it's in the parking lot of the restaurant we're going to eat at that night. I made Paige so mad she wanted to take a family picture. I said, let's hurry up and get this over with. She said, but Daddy. I said, did you take a picture? Yes. I said, that'll be good enough. I said, I got to get out of this. They said, what is it about Florida you don't like? I said, I don't like hot. I don't like sand. I don't like sunburn. I don't like sweating. I don't like that. I get up in the morning, I make the coffee pot, take my coffee out on the balcony, watch the boats go out, the dolphins run in the morning and feed. When the sun comes out, I come back in. I pull the curtains shut. I am in a dark cave. Kay will call up here. She'll say, honey, we got a great place down on the beach. We're under this umbrella. The breeze is wonderful. I said, Kay, I understand that. I said, but you got to understand something. I'm under a ceiling fan with the air conditioner going. It's all good. But even though we're opposites, we're not opposites in the things that matter the most. We've always been on the same page religiously. We've always been on the same page with the direction of our family and our kids. We've always communicated. And like I said at the very outset, we determined when we said I do, it means forever. Next slide, please. Accept each other's strengths and weaknesses. Accept those. Recognize individual roles. Acknowledge that your mate may have different strengths than you have. That's okay. Understand that that's what makes the world go round. Embrace each other's differences. Encourage one another. Focus on the positive. Acknowledge and appreciate the other's successes. I wish I had a nickel for every time I sat in counsel with somebody where the husband was not happy that his wife got accolades and praise and he did not, or he got them and she did not. I said, the last time I checked, I thought you were on the same page together. You should be. You should be happy for your mate getting recognized for a job well done. That has nothing to do with you. You're not in competition with each other. You're on the same team. Focus on the positive. Go ahead. Number 5, practice self-care. Manage your stress. Manage your frustrations. Engage in activities that are going to help you to relax and to de-stress. Exercise, meditation, or spending time in nature. I'm going to give you a little exercise. You ever been working away on your computer and it locks up? And everything you try, it will not unlock. It just stays frozen. The only thing you can do is hit that button and power it down, and you're praying, oh, please don't let my stuff go away. You're doing a hard reset. Remember this number, 478. 478. There are going to be times that all of us will have to do a hard reset. When you're dealing with stress in your marriage, this is free, and you can do it at any time you desire. Inhale for 4 seconds. Let's just do a group. Inhale, 4 seconds. Hold your breath 7 seconds. Exhale for 8 seconds. I mean, blow the air out of your toes. Do it again. If you'll do that for about 5 minutes, physiologically, what you're doing to your body is the same thing you just did to your computer. You're doing a hard reset on your body. Physiologically, what you're doing is you're calming your brain, you're lowering your heart rate, you're lowering your blood pressure, and it's going to make a difference in the way that you feel, and it does not cost you a thing. I went to the doctor some months ago, and the nurse took my blood pressure, and it was high. And she kind of rolled her eyes at me. You know how y'all do. And so rolled her eyes at me and said, the doctor will be in and see you in a few minutes. I knew it'd be about 10, maybe 15 minutes. So I sit there, and the very thing I just told you to do, I started doing. Deep breathing. 478. I did that till the doctor came in. She took my blood pressure. My top number was down 20 points. My bottom number was down about 7 or 8. And she looked at me and she said, your blood pressure is perfect. I said, thank you. But it was from deep breathing. Now, I understand when you're in a setting like this, you can't do deep breathing. Perhaps everybody look at, man, what's wrong with him or her that they're sucking in air and blowing it out, and what's wrong with them? Reflexology. Start at your feet. Curl up your toes in your shoes, and then relax. Tighten and relax. Come up to your calves. Tighten and relax. Come up to your thighs. Tighten and relax. Your buttocks, tighten and relax. You can do that sitting in a room full of people. Then you can kind of move your head around, and nobody thinks anything about that. You're doing the same thing as deep breathing, but you can do it in a way that nobody knows what you're doing. There are going to be times that you're going to need to deal with the stress, and I'm trying to show you easy ways that don't cost anything to deal with stress. Also, there is an app. It's called Breathe. It's free. And what it does is it starts off flat, you breathe normally. Then it'll go downhill and you inhale. When it gets to the bottom and starts back up, you exhale. And then when it levels off, you breathe normally. then it goes down and back up, and it keeps a timer on there for you. It takes all the guesswork out. It's a free app. It'll help you. How do you stay successful in your marriage? All of us are going to have to deal with stress. Compounded, if you have special needs within your family, you're going to have that stress. Stress is a silent killer. It's a silent killer. So do whatever you need to do to practice self-care. I had a young man that was dealing with anxiety. Dr. Looney, what do I do? I'm dealing with anxiety. What do I do? I said, well, tell me what you like to do. He said, I go out every morning and walk my dog. I said, great. Where do you go? Is it in your neighborhood, or do you get off the beaten path? He said, oh, off the beaten path. I said, here's what I need you to do. I said, on your walk with your dog, look for 3 different flowers that are different colors. I don't care what the flowers are. Look for 3 different flowers that are different colors. And then listen. Look and listen. Look and then listen. Listen for sounds off in the distance. Is that a dog barking? Is it children playing? Is it a car backfiring? Is it, I don't care what it is. Look, listen, and smell. What are 3 smells? Is somebody firing up a grill? Do you smell that smoke, the barbecue? Do you smell exhaust from a car? Do you hear ringing in your ears? It doesn't matter what it is. And so what happens, you're going, what in the world does this have to do with anything? That's a different tone. Uh-oh. Tornado. Well, let's get rid of our stress right now. And deep breathe while you get up and go to the near, well, we don't have any windows in here, do we? See, we're going to get to put into practice everything we've been talking about.
I don't know where it is. It's not telling me a place. But my mother is.
Ah.
What's your mother saying? My mother. Are y'all keeping up with the weather?
Well, you're still her baby. $30 minutes.